What's up everybody, my name is Kincaid, and I bought a $650 non-running snowmobile that I'm trying to fix. I have never worked on a snowmobile before this. This is the second part in this series, so if you missed the first video and want to catch up, I'll put that link on screen and in the description. Also, if you're new to the channel and want to follow along with the sled project, dirt bike projects in the future, and a lot of other cool stuff, feel free to hit that subscribe button. So I'm really glad I shared this on TikTok. This video has 550,000 views and tons of great comments that were incredibly helpful. I also got some great comments on the last YouTube video pointing me in all the right directions, so it's really nice to have the help of the internet along on this project when I don't really know what I'm doing. So the big takeaway from all the comments I got was that I should pull the entire engine and that it'll be much easier to install the top end on the workbench than in the sled. Also, just to clarify a couple things, I had a lot of comments of people wondering why I immediately went to the top end versus doing a couple other things. I did check spark before I started tearing the top end apart, and it does have spark. And the previous owner also told me that he got the sled diagnosed at a shop and they told him that it had low compression and needed a top end. Based on pulling the starter as well, my buddies that are a little more familiar with sleds than me also said that they could feel that it had low compression. So I found a full service manual online that I think I paid $15 for, and it's got instructions for engine removal from vehicle. So I'm just gonna start following these steps and see when I start swearing. I think I'm gonna realize pretty quickly how much coolant is actually in these sleds as I tear all this apart. I think I'm going to have a coolant covered garage floor. Okay, now that that's disconnected, I'm gonna see if I can pump a little bit more out. There we go. Very effective. It's like intubating my sled. What do we have here? All right, 3 more electrical connectors. Disconnected. Okay, I'm gonna need to get this clutch off, and I just watched a couple YouTube videos because I have no idea how to even get this belt off. And I think that there should be a tool in this little toolkit. That looks like what I'm looking for. So I guess this is the secondary clutch, and it works by moving in and out, which adjusts where the belt is allowed to sit and changes that tension, I think. And there's this little hole right here that is going to force this secondary clutch apart and allow me to get the belt off. At least that's what the internet tells me. There it goes. Nice, that's sweet. You can see it spreading. Oh, there we go, perfect. The belt is off. I don't actually know if the secondary clutch is gonna have to come out for the engine to come out or not. It would appear that the engine's just gonna come up and straight out, so we'll see. Nice. So I don't have the special SkiDoo clutch puller tool, but the internet told me about a cool thing called the water trick, and I'm gonna try that. It's funny being back to this complete lack of knowledge. With dirt bikes, once I built my foundation and my base understanding, everything's all kind of the same, but I don't have that base understanding with sleds, so all of this is still so new to me that it's really fun. Okay, I believe that step 1 of the water trick is to do some cow tipping. Oh, I think I'm doing deadlifts. I'm not sure what to do from here. Maybe I should tip it from the other side. Should I just tip the whole thing all the way on its side? That seems like too far. We're certainly getting all that coolant out. I guess I'm gonna tip this thing over plenty this winter. This might be the first time I've seen the underbelly of my sled, but it probably won't be the last. Okay, so the water trick is actually awesome now that I understand it because it's exactly like the bread method for removing blind bearings in a dirt bike engine. If you're curious about the bread method and haven't seen me use that, I will link that in the description and on screen as well. Alrighty, here goes. Oh, it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much at all. Let's see if that's enough. I'm a little tense. I feel like this is gonna make me jump when it pops. And I can't take this hand off because I have to hold it steady. Oh, there it goes. Wow, I'm glad I was still filming. That scared the crap out of me. Look at that. That is wild. Boom. Oh, there's some nasty crap in there. I will say this SkiDoo service manual leaves some to be desired. I think dirt bike service manuals in general are very thorough. This one tells me things like, remove the belt. And I'm like, how do I do that? Man, there's still so many cables. Oh, yep. So one other thing I'm definitely supposed to do from the instructions is remove the starter handle. I'm a little skeptical because I don't know what happens to the rope after the fact. All right, handle off. We got the big hoss. Looks like there's 2 more motor mounts on this side as well that I have to access through these tiny little holes. Ah, well, I've discovered a small problem. The engine's got a little connecting bar right there, and when I spin this, it's just spinning that, which means that's what it's threaded into. All right, I'm gonna see if this works. I've got a tire iron propped up against that piece that's spinning. Looks like it's still spinning. I need a break from those last 2 engine bolts. They're frustrating me a little bit. I keep wondering what this is, and I think it's just like a stop to keep the engine located. So I can thread this thing way in now. Make it a little easier to pull this engine out. All right, half of the engine moves. Okay, I've been struggling with these motor mount bolts for 45 minutes now. This rod in here just keeps spinning and I cannot get anything out. Are these not independent of each other? Okay, I've now resorted to doing something I might regret. I'm gonna drill through this so that I can put an Allen wrench or something in it that will prevent it from being able to spin and allow me to get the final engine mount bolt out. All right, we're through it. We're gonna stick that Allen in there. There we go, it's gonna work, it's gonna work. That took a very, very long time, but I now have all 4 motor mount bolts out. I believe I have to remove this oil injection cable, but to do so, I think this actually has a circlip and a pin that has to come out in order to get this cable off. One of the most complex designs I've ever seen to have to just remove a simple cable. And there goes oil. I'm not sure if that's just what's in the line and it's gonna stop dripping or if I am about to dump the entire reservoir into the bottom of this sled. Well, I have made an enormous mess in here. Oh, another breather. Yo, there's so many things attached to this engine. This is gonna be tricky to remember everything, getting it back together. All right, I think we're literally 1 cable away from disconnected. Okay, I just pulled the oil injector cable, which I believe is the last connection of the entire engine. It was a total pain. I don't know if I did it wrong. If I didn't do it wrong, that's a pretty awful design. But I did get it disconnected from its arm and I did lose the circlip. Oh, there's still 1 electrical connector. Imagine that. Come on, girl. Oh, uh-oh. Whatever that was, it might have broke. Well, this certainly escalated quickly. I now have a workbench full of snowmobile. I certainly did not realize that doing a top bend in a sled meant that this would be sitting on my workbench. There's some more shrubbery in the crankcase. All right, it's bright and early Monday morning, November 14th. Woke up to even more snowfall and now an even bigger itch to ride this sled. I did quite a bit more reading, watching YouTube videos, and research on these sleds over the weekend. I did end up making a big decision with these cylinders. This is the score right here that's concerning to me. It definitely catches my fingernail pretty significantly and is noticeable. Part of me just wanted to ignore it, but I know when I'm doing this much work, I really should do this project right. So I did a lot of reading on if you can hone Nickel cylinders or not, and pretty much the resounding overall response was no. Sounds like maybe I could get away with it for a little while, but ultimately I don't think the top end would last very long. So ultimately I decided that the right choice is to send the cylinders off to Millennium Technologies for replating. Sets the timeline of the project way back, which isn't ideal, but it is what it is. I've got the motor apart, so I might as well do this right. Millennium has replated all of my dirt bike cylinders that have needed work in the past, and they've done a phenomenal job. They'll also be replating the cylinder for the YZ300 build this winter. So on today's agenda, tear the bottom end apart, inspect it, and order whatever parts I might need. I feel like I need a coffee cup. M is for Monday. Don't judge me. I'm going to start with the starter. That looks complicated. I have no idea if I'm gonna have the capabilities to pull all this off or not. We got the nut. I might be able to accomplish this with a dirt bike crankcase splitter. Yep, this is definitely questionable. Most of what I've been doing on this project is pretty questionable. We might be flexing a little bit now. I have this piece from my crank puller, and depending on the thread size, there's a chance that might line up. I'm gonna give this a shot. They do fit. That would have just been too perfect. Doesn't quite line up. Okay, now I'm getting real creative. I realize, although this won't work, one side of this would if I disassemble this tool, because there's not enough space for me to use it while it's still together. Perfect. I think we made a homemade flywheel puller. Come on, baby. Hey there, I was wondering if you guys would have any SkiDoo flywheel pullers in stock.
That would not be something I'd have in stock. I'd have to try to order in.
Okay, thanks anyway. Okay, this flywheel has defeated me with the tools in my garage, so I'm going to follow my own advice and go buy a tool because I need it. The actual SkiDoo flywheel puller is like $130, but I'm almost certain this cheap Harbor Freight puller will do the trick. Oh shit, this is still recording? Found it. Out of stock. I did leave with the puller set. They had one in the back, and the lovely gentleman at Harbor Freight went and found it for me. So it's actually crazy impressive that Pittsburgh can manufacture and sell this for $17.99. I think it's gonna work. My clutch holder might work on this. Yeah, this could actually be a viable option right here. We're switching to the big house. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Yes! Woo! We got it! Oh my God, man. That thing was a little rusty in there. Wasted an hour before I decided to go to Harbor Freight, but that's the way it goes sometimes. I'd say that was a good purchase for $17.99. I'm just gonna do a top end rebuild. Freaking bottom end's almost split on my bench. I believe, looks like it might need a little bit of persuasion. Unfortunately, the service manual instructions for the bottom end are very questionable. It pretty much goes from removing the stator to having the crankshaft in your hand. I don't know about you guys, but the stator's right there and looks to me like the crankshaft is not in my hand. I'm just gonna start removing bolts and trying to do this logically, I guess. All right. Oh, I was gonna say I'm not sure why that has a gasket, but now I see coolant runs throughout this entire thing. Makes sense. All right. Boom. I'm definitely learning a lot about snowmobiles, which was one of the goals in this project. The other goal is, of course, to make some blower power turns on this thing. So after inspecting this crankshaft and the bearings, it would appear that the two clutch side bearings are pretty worn out. They each have a pretty significant amount of play, so I think those bearings are indeed failing, which from everything I've read is actually pretty common on these sleds. I think the other four bearings are good to run, which is good news, so that I don't actually have to have the crankshaft separated or rebuilt. But I will need to figure out how to replace these ones. SkiDoo calls for a special tool to set this gap when installing this bearing, so I'm gonna have to figure out how to do that. Searching online, I can't actually find the tool. All this said, there's lots of work left to be done on the sled. It is not going to be running this month, might not even be running this year. The next part to this sled series might not be uploaded soon, but rest assured, I will have this thing running one day. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so that you know when the next episode of this series is out. In the meantime, might switch gears back to the YZ for a while. Anyway guys, thanks for the support on this project, thanks for following along, and I will see you soon with another video.